Yo, what's up with the YouTube and welcome back to another reaction video. But today we're gonna be reacting to the True Home Alone horror stories animated by IMR. Scary Tales, I think that's what they're called. I can't remember the name of it. I'm finna once I start doing for y'all guys, I'm finna start doing this like kind of like scary stories because I know a lot of people be wanting to like see it, and then I know like. Some people don't be wanting to watch this stuff alone, especially at night, you know what I'm saying? They want to have somebody they can, you know what I'm saying, actually watch to and they won't be scared with, you know? So I think it'd be, interesting to see people in the comments and react and stuff and all that. But, I don't know what the business is like. Comment, subscribe, hit the bell, because you get notifications every time I post it. Please share the video, man. Without further ado, let's go get into the video. Oh, shit.
It's been 20 years, yet the memory of this incident feels so fresh. I was 8 years old back then. I lived with my dad, as my parents were going through a divorce.
8 years old? Why the heck bro look 20 right now? The heck?
My dad worked as a nurse at the local hospital, so he had to pull a lot of night shifts often.
Okay.
Whenever he had night shifts, I went to spend the night with my grandma, who lived 2 blocks away from our house. But the night when this incident happened, my grandma was out of town. It was a Saturday night, and my dad and I were all set to go out to dinner when his phone rang.
Okay.
After talking for a brief moment, my dad told me he has to rush to the hospital as it's an emergency.
Damn.
But he'll be back in an hour. He asked me if I would be okay to stay on my own for a while, which I gladly accepted.
I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't like being alone. Sometimes I do. But then most of the time it's just like, cause like especially in my house, like you be hearing stuff and shit like too. I think we got some geeses and some ghosts around here. Or, I don't know, bro, but it gets spooky at night. And I really don't be wanting to be here by myself. I ain't gonna even count.
Being an 8-year-old, having the house to yourself felt quite thrilling.
Especially
he got
8?
into his car, told me to lock the doors, and watch TV until he comes back. I watched him drive away and then lock the door.
Okay.
It was my first time being home alone, so I felt like a king. I could do whatever I want now, and there's no one to scold me. I drank a lot of juice, ate 3 scoops of ice cream, 2 big chocolate muffins without having to ask for permission. I then ran into my dad's office, which always fascinated me. I sat on his big armchair and started to go through the stuff lying on his table.
Okay.
He had a fountain pen that often grabbed my attention. I started writing with it on his fresh white memo pads. After jeopardizing a few pages of the memo pad, I rolled them into a paper ball and aimed for the basket in the corner.
Kobe.
15 minutes went by doing all these stupid things when I remembered about the clown head. A patient of my dad gave him a big rubber clown head before passing away in a terrible accident. My dad couldn't say no to the man, so he brought it home. But he kept it in the garage, and no matter how many times I asked for it, he never let me play with that. I've always been a weird kid who was never terrified of clowns. Instead, I liked them. I love their goofy appearance. I came out of his office and walked to the garage. The house was so quiet that I could hear my every footstep creaking on the wooden floor. I entered the garage and turned on the lights. The clown head was about a foot tall, with no holes for eyes or nostrils. The clown face was drawn on. It can be creepy to some people, but not to me. As I already said, I had a fascination with clowns. I picked up the clown head, and suddenly, a stroke of cold wind brushed through my left shoulder.
What the heck?
Holding the clown head, I turned back and saw nothing in that empty garage. The eyes of the clown were blue, and his smile was too big to describe.
Oh my God.
As I hold the clown head in my hands, a weird sensation took over my body.
I would have put Bray all the way back.
I began to hear a voice in my head. The voice was hush, yet shrill. Put it on. What? Is anyone here?
Nah, fam.
Just put it on. Before I could realize I was talking to myself,
His voice.
My hands lifted my head and made me wear it. I can't explain the feeling when my head entered the clown head, but I still feel something hypnotized me. Something made me wear it, using my own hands. I stood like a statue for a moment. The clown head was weird from the inside. A smell of rubber mixed with paint lingered inside of the air of the clown head. As I snapped out of my state of trance, I realized I didn't want to play with it anymore. Hence, decided to take it off. And that's when the nightmare began.
Yo, is this the like that episode of Goosebumps where he put the mask on and he couldn't take it off? It's basically something like that. Yeah, that's really what it sounded like, because it sounded like about the same premise.
I casually pulled the clown head, but it didn't come out. Thinking it might have got stuck, I grabbed the top of the head with both my hands and pulled it again, but the head didn't move an inch. Drops of sweat appeared on my forehead as I realized the air inside the head had started to warm up, and there is no hole for ventilation in it. I couldn't see or hear anything, and my breathing got heavy. Okay, it'll come off. I just have to pull harder. I told myself to keep calm and not panic. I started pulling the head, but it wasn't coming off. I tried to slip my finger in to create a gap, but it was stuck around my neck too tightly. What the hell? I tried harder for a few more seconds and finally started to panic. The air inside the head was getting hotter with me panicking, and I started choking and gasping inside it. It was so damn easy to put on, but feels completely impossible to take off. Tears rolled down my cheek in fear. I screamed, "Dad, help me!" But then remembered I am the only one in this house. I couldn't make my way outside the garage, and it also didn't feel safe to walk with this head on. I feared if I stumble down, then I'll get more injured. Slowly, I started to suffocate. I grabbed it, pulled it, hit it with my small hands, but nothing helped. I screamed and felt even more terrified, hearing them cough inside the clown head. There's no way my neighbors can hear me, which means if I don't take it out myself, I'll die.
Basically.
My ears turned red, and I could feel my entire face burning. The situation was so claustrophobic that I peed my pants. I was suffering and crying. I prayed to God to get me out of this, and I will never look at it again. My paranoia reached such a level that I felt pressure in my neck and vomited at once. The juice, muffins, ice cream all came out from my mouth in the worst form possible and started to float inside the clown head, which was also running out of breathable air. The toxic smell of my vomit mixed with the rubbery smell of the clown head made me realize death is not far away. As I moved left to right in panic, the vomit moved around my nose and ear, which resulted in me vomiting more and more. I couldn't stop myself, even if I wanted to. Now, I was choking in my vomit under the worst circumstances possible. My nostrils got blocked by the disgusting fluid, and my ears felt numb. A shrill beep was going in my head that started to blur my vision. I understood if I don't do something quickly, I am not going to survive. I pulled and pulled, but the head was getting tighter around my neck. I was trying hard, but suddenly my hand slipped, and I fell on the shelves at the garage wall. Trying to regain my balance, I fell on the floor at my back, and the vomited fluid went behind my head and let my nose finally pop out. I was searching for something when my hand picked up a metal tool that had fallen from the shelf. It was a spanner. I placed the pointy arc between my jaw and the clown head and started to put pressure on the head to come out. The spanner created a small gap, and the gooey fluid started to drip from the gap. I kept still until most of the fluid flowed away, and some amount of air flowed in, giving me a chance to fight back. Once I regained my sanity, I grabbed the spanner real tight and said to myself that in the count of 3, I'll put all my pressure so that the spanner pulls up the clown head. 1, 2, 3. As I did what I planned, a cracking sound took place with horrifying pain that made me scream. The clown head tore from that one corner due to the pressure, but my jaw broke as well. Smeared in blood, vomit, and sweat. When I finally took the clown head off, I heard footsteps coming at me while screaming my name. Andrew! Oh my God, Andrew! I woke up in the hospital 2 days later. Doctors had to clip my left jaw back, followed by 7 hours of surgery. There was nothing to do, no one to blame, as it was an accident that happened to a stupid kid who did a stupid thing while being home alone. Luckily, my broken jaw got better with time, and I don't have difficulty talking or eating,
Yeah.
as steel plates are attached
Blessed.
inside my mouth to support my facial
Blessed.
structure. The only thing that bothers me is my scar. I have this huge scar on my left cheek.
Ooh.
It forms into a disturbing smile whenever I stretch my
You
lips.
looking like the Joker.
I've lost my face forever. Now, there's an invisible clown head resting on me for the rest of my life.
First, kids, this is a lesson. Listen to your parents. Like, for real. Like, I know at the moment, them niggas be, you know what I'm saying, be getting on your nerves, telling you stuff. Well, 9 times out of 10, they're telling you right. Please listen to them. So you won't be like that, boy.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the video. If so, please leave a like. And also, a small percentage of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. If you want to support this channel and make this channel reach the 1 million mark, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can change your mind later.
We got you, brother.
Enjoy.
It was a cold August morning. It was a typical Thursday workday that for anyone would go unnoticed. But in Mike's case, it was a special day. The young man had just broken off a relationship of more than 10 years and was just recovering from that experience. He was advised to go out, meet new people, or enjoy the nightlife.
That's a long time.
But he had another plan in mind. The young man had asked for 2 days off from work and talked to his uncle to borrow his house in the mountains, a spiritual retreat where he has no signal, no internet, and his cell phone would remain off. There are no neighbors around to bother him, and his ex would not be able to contact him either. Before he left, his ex-girlfriend's van was waiting for him outside.
Are you sure about this?
Boy.
Of course.
No.
Amanda, I know it's something that'll do me good.
Having a whim and hiding in the mountains is not my idea of something that can do any good.
Exactly.
It makes sense, but it'll work for me.
Don't come crying to my house if you're being chased by a Yeti. Your uncle is capable of hiding them in the closet.
With any luck, I won't even meet my own shadow. It's just a few days, and I'll see you and talk things over.
You really want to stay at a house alone by yourself?
Mike traveled for more than 5 hours, and when he arrived, everything was as he expected. Despite being small, the house was nicely decorated, and the furniture was kept in perfect condition. To his disappointment, the phone still had a signal, and he immediately received a call from his uncle as soon as he arrived.
What did he say?
Hey, Uncle. Good morning, Mike. Are you home yet? Just got here and I was able to get in.
Why you be sounding like
cameras? You just called me as I walked in. That would be a very good investment, but unfortunately not. Tell me, why don't I hear your friends? You went with them, didn't you?
Nah,
yeah. Well, we're all here. I had to move away so they wouldn't start making jokes while I was talking. Oh, well, great.
Boy, you is crazy.
Take care of the house and remember to call me if you have any problems. Great. Thanks a lot. The young man remembered how he had to lie to his uncle, saying that he wouldn't enter the house unless he went with his friends.
You crazy,
his uncle was one of those conspiranoid people and went on and on about how he didn't want to go into that house for fear of finding aliens. So Mike usually ignored him. With a small complicit chuckle, he thought of how little use the house would have been if he had to share it with someone else. After a full day of relaxation and tranquility, Mike went to sleep with immeasurable peace. But it didn't last long. A strange noise made him open his eyes. The room was dark, and the moonlight was barely coming through the window. Mike thought it was probably raining, so he tried to relax again. Before he could fall asleep, a beam of light hit his eyes and alerted him. Opening them, he realized it was the moonlight shining directly against the window. Mike tried to continue sleeping, but paranoia overcame him. He could not convince himself that it was all a dream. So the young man got dressed and slowly got out of bed. He looked out the window and saw no one. After returning to bed, the young man was about to cover himself, but an image froze him with fear. As he made his discovery, the blood in his body froze, and fear came over him so suddenly that every fiber of his body translated into pain. The window a few feet away was closed, but there was a dirt trail that started at the window and ended under his bed. The only thing Mike could think of was to take a big leap from the bed and start running. Maybe grab a knife and hide, or maybe drift away until daylight.
You ain't got the Glock
Suddenly, He was falling and hitting his head against the wall.
Hey, yo. Like, legitimately, that is really what I'm fear of. Like being at home alone or some shit. It's something grab you from under your bed, or you just, you know what I'm saying. You just wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning, and something snatches your ankle off in the middle. Bro, that is terrifying. Like, just really thinking that, bro. You literally just sitting there, getting out of bed. You know what I'm saying? Oh shit! It's like something just snatched your ass up. Like, what the fuck? No.
Whoever was under his bed lifted it to one side, causing Mike to fall. Immediately, something jumped out of the mess of sheets and rushed at
Jesus.
Mike's body. By the time Mike could react and understand what was happening, a tall, white, gangly man stood above him with a knife in his hand. His blue eyes were wide open, staring with unwarranted
God.
anger into Mike's eyes. Despite being very skinny, this man had a lot of strength and knew some martial art, since his whole body was arranged in such a way that the young man could not move a muscle. Please, don't kill me. I closed my eyes. I didn't get to see your face. Mike cried desperately with tears in his eyes, without moving a muscle. Just take everything. I'm not gonna move from here. Tie me up if you want. So you didn't see my face, and you promised not to move, kid? I swear, I'm not interested in justice. If you don't believe me, I don't have a landline here. Take my cell phone and my car. What a kind and cooperative boy. Tell me, kid, where are the valuables? Move the dining room furniture. You'll see a hole. I have money stored in case. Without letting him finish his sentence, the psychopath began to cut Mike's forehead with his knife, tracing a horizontal line. Sorry to interrupt you, kid, but you were boring me. I was telling you where you could find my money. You see, I have no intention of robbing you. The only reason I have to visit you
is to kill you.
Is to see you bleeding.
What?
Why? Because I saw you while you were pumping gas on the way here. And to be honest,
what?
You have a face of a squealing pig, and I love it. With that said, the imposter slowly plunged the knife into Mike's hand, making sure to twist the knife into his skin. Meanwhile, Mike was still not opening his eyes. Fear had taken over his whole body, which remained motionless next to a person who had the intention of taking his life. He thought of his family, his friends, even his ex. Suddenly, the psychopath released the knife and began to beat the boy savagely, while he could only cry and beg for mercy. In a moment of clarity, Mike opened his eyes and noticed how the criminal had his eyes closed and pointed upwards, as if enjoying the moment. The boy used all his strength to push him down. Mike stood up and ran desperately, but he was bouncing around trying not to fall. He had lost a lot of blood and received many blows, so he was very dizzy. At the moment, Mike felt he had the man behind him, about to catch him, but when he turned around, he was still on the ground, laughing, as if enjoying the show. Without grabbing his car, Mike just ran as far away from the house as he could, hoping to run into someone to help him. As he was escaping, he could hear the man's taunting cries from the cabin. Run, little piggy! Fly to your freedom. Don't stumble, or you might hit your head. And who knows what the evil killer will do to you. I'll be waiting for you when you want to come back.
First of all, when killer just talks like that, I understand they're supposed to be quote unquote crazy. Who the fuck talks like this? I know I'm supposed to be in danger, dog, but like legitimately hearing somebody talk like that, why? I'll be scared, but I wouldn't be terrified out of it. Like, bro, why the fuck you talking like that? I understand you're supposed to be some madman, but what the fuck? I would have been laughing running away. What the heck?
When he returned the next day with the police, no one was there. The criminal, a known patient from a nearby insane asylum, had even gone to the trouble of cleaning the house.
Dang.
Mike had no intention of staying or returning to it. From that day on, every time his uncle mentions an alien, he laughs generously and thinks that having an encounter with a human Could be much worse.
Exactly. So wait. He didn't tell his uncle about the whole story. I mean, I understand. You know what I'm saying? He told you bring your friends, so but still, bro, like this is at his house, bro. Like you didn't tell this man that something happened. Bro, they just skipped out on that whole entire detail.
I think there's something in my house, and I'm not just saying it. My name is Lucy Barbera, and I live in the outskirts of Ohio. I was married to a man named Daniel 2 years back. He used to be a worker in my father's factory. My father grew fond of him and arranged my marriage with him. I never had much say when it came to my life. My father was a strict man, and after my mother's death in my early childhood, he raised me with all he had.
Okay.
I'm not saying he didn't love me, but he did show too much authority over me. He thought whatever he thinks, he decides will be best for me. Not having enough self-esteem, I could never stand up to him. When I turned 18 and finally thought of doing so, he got diagnosed with cancer. His last wish was to see me settled by marrying this man, Daniel. Daniel was a bit older than me, but he was a hard worker and had some family wealth. He too was an orphan, so my father immediately took him under his wing. My father died a week after our marriage. Daniel wasn't a talker, and he was way more reserved than I anticipated at first. But the thing I respected about him was he never forced me into anything as my father did. After getting married, I moved in here to live with him. He took over my father's business and managed it.
Okay.
Despite being married, we kept our distance. Everything was going okay until last Thursday, when my husband died. Died? Daniel's dead. In his last few months, Daniel worked late night in his study downstairs. He said he was working on a new business strategy. I knew how extremely serious he was about work, so I never bothered him. But it was 3:10 in the morning when I sprung up, hearing a loud bang. I ran downstairs, and as I opened the study room door, I saw a vicious sight. Blood was splattered all over the table and wall. Daniel was sitting on his armchair, and his face was gone, along with part of his brain. A handgun was loosely hanging from his left hand.
What the heck?
The cops were called, and the incident was ruled as a suicide. Everyone told me to move out of the house, but I knew I couldn't.
Wait, what? You didn't move out the house? Wait. First of all, you talking about your husband was reserved, and y'all really didn't talk. So why was you married to him? Unless you know what I'm saying, just because your dad said, and plus he was rich. That's really about it. Like, you said right, you don't even know exactly why he would kill himself. Because you didn't talk to him. You're like, what the what was you what was y'all doing the whole time? What are y'all even married for?
On the first night of being alone in this house, I started to experience some weird things.
You want to stay at the house?
I was cooking in the kitchen when I heard knocks on my door.
Boy, no
It was 7:30 in the evening, and I wasn't expecting anyone. I walked to the main door and looked through the peephole. There was no one outside. I stared for a while, but saw no one. The empty streets stood still. I turned back to walk away when I heard the knocks again.
Boy.
Thinking some neighborhood kid was pulling a prank, I opened the door and again saw no one. I waited on my porch to notice some suspicious activity, but nothing happened. I locked the door and returned to the kitchen. After dinner, I came to our bedroom, which was my bedroom now. Sleeping on the same bed that I shared with Daniel felt very unsettling to me, but I was really tired. I wanted to cry like every normal wife, but not having any real connection with my husband made crying impossible for me. I can't fake tears. I laid down on the bed, and after struggling for half an hour, fell asleep. The house gets too quiet at night.
Sleep in that room.
The loudest sound one can hear is the ticking of the clock. I don't remember how long I slept, but suddenly I started to feel chilly. The blanket was below my waist. I pulled it up to my neck. In that drowsy state, I rolled to the other side, and someone breathed on my face.
Oh my God.
It happened so quickly that I just moved my head away without opening my eyes. But within a fraction of a second, I realized there's no one else in this house. I am alone. I woke up with goosebumps. Drops of sweat appeared on my forehead, and I took a good look around the room. The moonlight from the window illuminated my view. Realizing I must have scared myself in my sleep, I reached for the glass of water I keep on my nightstand. I must have taken one small sip when I heard footsteps downstairs. My eyes went to the clock, and that's when my stomach dropped in fear. It was 3:10 in the morning. I knew very well that all the doors and windows were locked, so there was no chance someone would enter this house without breaking in.
Why are you still there?
I slowly got up from the bed and went downstairs.
Why are you still
living in the same house? The study door was closed. With trembling hands, I opened the door. The flashback of that night was going through my head, but this time the study looked completely normal. I stepped in when the light bulb of the room exploded and the study door closed hard behind my back. Feeling horrified, I screamed at the top of my lungs when a black shadow figure appeared in the dark corner of the room. The shadow looked human, but only had eyes. The rest of its body was just pitch black. The pair of bloodshot eyes stared right at me and said in a broken voice,
"Her husband.
I am sorry."
"Daniel? Is that you?" But the voice didn't answer my question, and the light came back immediately. I remembered the light bulb breaking into pieces a few moments back. How was it shining again like nothing happened? Gradually, eerie things started to happen around the house after that day.
What? Why are you still there? What the heck? Why are you still there? You didn't leave out the light bulb? First of all, I wouldn't even stay this. I would not stay in a place if I know somebody killed themselves in there. Bro, no. Are you crazy? You bugging the fuck out.
Visible presence walked the house 24/7, and I could feel it watching me. One day, I was ironing some old clothes of Daniel's when a pair of cold hands grabbed my shoulder from behind. I almost flinched and screamed in fear.
Oh, she one of them.
Who is it?
She one of them slow people.
Daniel? Are you here?
Daniel?
No reply came for a few seconds, but then a loud thud came from the study. I went to the study, grabbing a flashlight this time. As I picked it up, I saw it wasn't a book, rather a diary. As I read the diary, the hair at the back of my neck stood up. It was Daniel's diary. He wrote disturbing things in it.
Like what?
"Today, I met Mr. Barbera's daughter, Lucy. The old fool has decided to marry her with me. I didn't plan for this, but now I had no other choice. To inherit his property, I must marry Lucy. But I have already made my second plan. The only obstacle between me and the property is Lucy. I will wait a couple of years and then drop my next and final move.
What?
I will make her death look like an accident. But how can she die? How can I make it happen without getting caught?"
And then, for the next few pages, Daniel had scribbled ideas through which he could make my death appear as an accident.
That's crazy.
Some of these included slipping down the stairs, catching fire while cooking in the kitchen, etc. My skin crawled, thinking I slept next to a man for 2 years who was looking for a window of opportunity to kill me and inherit my father's property. I was reading the diary with a panicked face when a gush of wind touched my hair.
Why are you still in the house reading?
I turned around, and the shadow was back. But this time, the light in the study didn't go out. The shadow with bloodshot eyes kept staring at me like before.
Oh, it's her dad?
That's her dad. I'm tweaking. Voice, "Daniel, you're supposed to be dead."
That ain't Daniel.
For the first time, the shadow replied to me. What it said still rings in my ears like an ominous tune. It said,
"I'm not Daniel.
I'm your dad."
I dropped the diary on the floor and started to run for the main door. The invisible spirit that I mistook for my dead husband was not him, and this was enough for me to leave that house right that moment.
Oh, now you
I was a few inches away from the main door when 2 firm hands grabbed my feet and started to pull me back to the study. I screamed and tried to kick, but I was just screaming in the air. There was nothing, but I was being pulled away by these evil hands. Suddenly, I was thrown inside the study. And then I heard a very familiar voice.
Her dad.
"I am sorry, Lucy. I should have never married you with Daniel."
"Father?"
Exactly. I knew it was her dad.
God. A black swirl of wind started to roll in the middle of the study room and slowly took the form of my father. He stood there with a pale, dead face and uttered for the last and final time,
"I'm sorry. Forgive me."
Aww.
He disappeared into the air. I'm still living in the same house, and I feel like whatever was stuck here might be gone now. I'm seeing this therapist who thinks my grief-stricken brain resulted in those terrifying hallucinations. I wish I could believe the same and move on with my life, but when I recall how Daniel shot himself in the head with his left hand, my stomach drops. I failed to notice
What?
it then, but later I remembered that Daniel was not a left-handed person.
His right hand.
dominant hand was the right one. Do you know why this little detail creeps me out? My father was left-handed.
Oh.
Is it possible he rose from the dead and possessed Daniel to take his life before he could take mine? Is it possible? Or am I just going mad, alone in this house?
Yo, what a twist. I ain't gonna cap. I like the last story better than all of them. Like, for real. That's crazy. That's crazy, though. He probably did possess him, though, and made him kill himself. Gosh, I was wondering, like, if he's making up plans how to, you know what I'm saying, take out the daughter to get that, to inherit her father's wealth, why would you kill yourself? Like, what is the purpose of that? That literally defeated the whole purpose of what you were doing. That's crazy, yo. Oh my god. Yo, I like the stories, but his voice kind of is like, it ain't eerie enough for me to get into. It ain't got like the little, I don't know how to put it. It's like a rigid voice, like a rough kind of patch voice. You know what I'm saying? That can actually fully immerse you into the story. Like, it wasn't really scary, but it had some parts like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? It just went on, you know, just had me so scared. You know, like I seen other stories and it had me just fully like on go mode focus. But that's crazy though. Like, if he really got possessed, it made him kill him. Hey, that was dope. But y'all already know, right? If y'all like the story, please leave a like, comment. Please comment if y'all want to see any more horror story videos or recommend any other ones I can watch. I definitely will. Please share the video. Click the bell so you get notifications when I post it. But you already know, J Killer is out. Peace.